Well, I look forward to a good meeting here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, how's it going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Did you have a good Veterans Day? Never seen that. Never seen that. Wait till they landed it.
Make sure that.
That's our next step.
Cardio equipment is all Wi-Fi. So.
Okay.
Just power.
Yeah, another closet from Jupiter.
Yeah, as soon as we get that layout and electrical requirements, finish up the.
Hi there.
You
You know tennis?
A lot of those.
About tennis?
Very low key.
Me?
Maybe I can even do it.
He did. Now, why is it wall, and I think there was 4 on the ground. Okay. Something up by the.
Share a lady, three of them. So, yeah, it's, and I just read that, you know, just a lot of people like
Make sure it's
yeah. Yeah.
He's still.
This is just. This is Jay Wheatley's 484. It's her just.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, sir.
How's Sue? So you go.
Oh, she's doing well.
Good.
It's not much. She's moving around. I might send her to your house.
Oh, yeah.
The CEO.
You'll all turn your microphone on, please.
Good morning, Rita.
Good morning.
Good morning, Paul. How are you? Good. Town manager is Paul. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I got lost.
Are we ready to proceed? Yes? Good. Let's call the meeting to order. Please rise and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Lyons,
Here.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Here.
Commissioner Oyster. Mayor Morgan.
Here.
Let the record show that Commissioner White is absent with notice, and also present is Town Manager Dunham and the Town Attorney Nazaro and myself and Chief Allen.
The chief. Forgot him last meeting that I was here. So I recall, but it's not forgotten today.
Yeah.
All right, we've been presented with the minutes from our October 8th meeting. Are there any comments, questions, changes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Mr. Lyons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwyne.
Yes.
And Mayor Morgan.
Yes. I don't believe there's any additions or changes to the agenda. So let's just announce that our next meeting will be December 10th at 9 a.m. for anyone who wishes to attend. Public comment, anyone wish to speak? Not, we're moving right along. Let's go to our public hearing. Who's going to speak today on the application from CSA Architects?
Good morning.
Would you please raise your hand and be sworn?
Swear to tell the truth, full truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Any ex parte communications by commission members?
No.
No, thank you very much. Proceed.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jess Sowards. I'm principal with Curtis Sowards Agile Architects, 185 Northeast 4th Avenue, Delray Beach, Florida. Thank you for having us here this morning. The application is at the Little Club, and we got a PowerPoint presentation. And I'd like an interactive communication, so if you have any questions during the presentation, if it's okay, please ask me, interrupt me, and say, what about this, what about that?
Very good.
Is this working?
Two screens, right? Screens are new.
We do have more than this.
Can they just have one rather than the split? Can they just do the lower part, you know? What? No,
Probably.
that's not it. Oh, yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I guess we'll have control then. If you can go back one slide. Okay, so this is just give you an idea of where we are in the Little Club. I know everyone knows where this is, and in the red box, this is the area the golf course is to the south, which is the bottom of the slide. And so basically, slide. So this is a blow up of the parking lot. The existing clubhouse is there in the kind of the cool white area. You can faintly see the red box. Beside the yellow box is the existing cart barn. So basically what we're doing is we're taking down the existing cart barn, which is below the floodplain. It's also structurally inadequate. And we're replacing it with an activity center in the same location. Also within this, a question was brought up with at the last meeting, the planning and zoning. Parking, we have 79 existing paid parking spaces, and we are losing 3 parking spaces with this but there are also a surplus of 12 parking spaces from the previous approval. So we have a net 9 surplus paid parking spaces with the existing development. So this is the new activity center, and it's pretty simple. We've got a wellness fitness facility that we're putting in. We have bag storage for the members that we're putting in. We have a couple of offices and a work area, and we have an activity room for things like basket weaving, art, those kinds of things. A couple of bathrooms to support the facility. So basically the existing cart barn is about 2,300 square feet, and the new facility is twice the size, about 4,600 square feet. Okay. This is the landscape plan. Carol Perez can't be here. Yes, yes, sir.
So you take down the building that houses the golf carts.
Correct.
Where do the golf carts go?
There's another existing facility in the golf course, on the golf course grounds that they're moving those to. There's an existing storage facility out there. They're moving those to that facility.
So the golf courses will be stored similarly to what it was in the past, except in a different building?
That is correct.
So my question is, and I think we talked about it once, Rob, each day that you may bring like 5 to 10 carts down to the area where the cart barn used to be so people don't, I don't know, how does that work? Does your staff go down and get them and bring them back? Okay, so you won't bring any down there anticipating golfers for that day?
Correct.
I got you.
And the golf staging area, that stays the same. We're not changing that area. We're actually repaving it because we are putting new pavers in and you can't match the existing pavers. So we're gonna have to redo that whole area so it all matches. Unfortunately, Carol can't be here today. She's out of town, but the landscaping, it's a series of coconuts and Alexander's. One of the comments that planning and zoning had, which I think they were spot on, is as a result of the new floodplain that we have to be at 7. So the mechanical equipment also has to be raised. So she just the board wanted to make sure that our screening, our landscape screening for the AC units are going to cover that time of planting, and we'll take care of that. But all the species, landscape species, are compatible with what's existing out there. Okay. So this is an elevation, a couple of elevations of what the building looks like. I do have, can I hand out the existing photos? Yeah. So there's some existing photos that shows an existing cart barn. You can see that when you take a look at it, it's very similar. It has the clear story louvers in it. It's 1 story. It's stucco building, painted white to match the existing clubhouse. Concrete roof tiles, same roof pitch. The concrete roof tiles will be through body white. So everything matches the existing clubhouse. And that's the idea, is that we want this to look like it's fit in the whole time. With the existing clubhouse. And that's another reason why we wanted to put it where the existing cart barn is, so that visually it's all looks like it's always been there. And these are the 2 end elevations. Just some details we're picking up from the existing clubhouse. The windows, we're actually using the exact same. We are working with Mal Associates who are going to be building this. So we're getting the same window manufacturers, same details, same tinting on the glazing. Everything is going to be matching. Same gutters, same soffit details. Everything's going to be the same. So this is a picture of the existing cart barn. Okay. And you can see that it is bigger, but very slightly. And I just thought this was a good representation of before and after, how it all fits in. And this is when we add the landscaping to it.
Jess, can you go over, since you're touching on the landscaping, what's going on again, other than just screening the equipment on the east side?
On the east side? Yeah, there's, thanks for that.
East side of the building, because you've got obviously the old, what we call employee parking area, I guess.
Mm-hmm. There's some coconuts on the east side. There's another shade tree. I can't read it. I don't know what she put there, and some hedging. The equipment units are over on that side, but we are screening that. I think she has protocarpus there, which is going to stay, pretty green and tight and easy to maintain. So, and you can get the height out of it.
So the height will be such that you won't see it.
So we won't see it. And that was a condition that planning and zoning picked up on at the last meeting. So
And that's the only utility on the east side?
Correct, correct.
Thank you.
Actually, we're bringing, we don't have to do a double detector check valve because there's an existing one on the site. And that's actually coming from the west side because that's where the main service comes in now. Also, the water service will be coming in from that side as well. So the only equipment on the east side will be the AC units.
And then the service parking lot, that's gonna be repaved and restriped. Do I have that
Yes,
right?
yeah, the east parking lot, yes.
Yeah.
We do lose the 3 spaces there.
Right.
We do want to maintain with the 1 space that we're losing to provide access to the grass parking, the overflow parking.
Mhm.
So we want to maintain that access for special events, et cetera, for overflow.
I like this visual, by the way.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Mhm. Good, thank you. So that concludes my presentation and here to answer any questions you might have.
Very good. Any other questions regarding this application?
I just have one. Is the drainage project that you did in conjunction with the casitas, is that complete?
Yeah.
Okay. And this area is really not, I mean, does the drainage from that area go to the west side of your parking lot?
No.
Okay.
Rita, did you get any comments from neighbors, particularly to the east?
Yes, we had 3 that even came and looked at the drawings and it was all favorable.
Good. Thank you.
Nothing negative, even in writing.
Good.
It's not a question, it's a concern. Service for the building itself is not on the west side, it's on the east side of the building. It comes on the opposite side of the entrance of that driveway. That's where the meter service is at for the building.
Yeah, we're tying into the existing building now. So because that's how the cart barn is being serviced now. So because we have so few plumbing fixtures in there, our engineer feels like we can tap in from the clubhouse side, just like it currently is. So we're not going back to the meter.
Okay, so you're just gonna take it from where the service connection is right now as it exists?
Correct, correct. Yeah,
No worries.
we're trying to simplify everything.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, I have a question. The place that you're gonna be, the maintenance shed, that you're gonna be putting the carts in,
Mhm.
isn't that already full of lawnmowers, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I can answer that.
It's actually the green barn alongside of number 2 green.
Oh, the one on the left-hand side, of the
Yes.
green, you're gonna be able to fit all that's where the lawnmowers are, or?
No, they're not. There's a little bit of storage in there, but we have plenty of room for the 23 cars.
Okay, I mean, I'm just anticipating that another year from now, are we gonna be anticipating a new building out in the middle of the golf course?
I don't think so.
Don't think so.
No.
Well, there's no need from a cart perspective, Curtis, there's no need. That green barn is ideal. We use 23 golf carts. It's not like we have.
It's not like you have a fleet.
And that, it just so happens that the green barn works perfectly and it's not far. And you all probably have seen this, but the golf carts can be ganged. So they link together so you can tow them. So it's not a big deal. Many clubs don't have their cart barn next to the staging area.
Is the easternmost wall of the new building pushed out further than the existing
Yes.
wall? How far?
I would say maybe 25 feet, something
25
like that.
feet. And that distance to the condos to the east of it is
Oh,
approximately?
we are, I don't know, 50 feet, 85 feet, 85 feet from the property line. I think it's a 25-foot setback and required, and we're 85 feet.
And the condensing units, how many of them do you have?
I think there's 4.
4?
Yeah.
Are they on the rooftop or on the ground?
They're actually hung from the building because the building has to be somewhat, up above the floodplain. So not only does the floor have to be above the floodplain, but also the units. So they're on little wall hung units. They're wall hung. So So, but they'll look like they're on the ground.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
They're not on.
They're not on the roof.
They're-
We don't have to screen them that way.
Right,
We're going to
exactly.
screen them at time of planting with landscape.
And how many condensing units outside are there right now?
4. Oh, right now, I don't think there's any. Yeah,
Not climate control.
Yeah.
It's not.
yeah, because it's not climate, yeah. So you can see them there, the little gray, and that's before the landscaping. And then after, next button.
They'll be screened out.
So then that'll all be screened out. So I think that's a good
Yeah,
visual.
My only concern is the noise of 4 condensers
Mhm.
with the people who sit out on the patios of their condos, 85 feet away.
Yeah,
Whereas before that, there've been none.
yeah, understand.
I would say if there is a noise issue, if there are complaints of it, as a condition of this application, there should be a requirement for noise insulation
Mhm.
of the condensers.
Okay,
But you wouldn't have a problem.
no,
I don't think
no, that's fine.
so. Okay.
Jess, on the condensing units, if they're hung, what's the advantage to that other than obviously the cost with the brackets as opposed to actually pouring a slab? I mean, are they actually
It's
quieter?
Mhm. It's
Well, that's
cost.
pretty cost. But is there more reverberation if you're setting them on a 30-inch slab coming off the building as opposed to just
Well,
having them
there
hang? I
shouldn't
mean,
be,
I
and
haven't seen them being hung like that. I realize that
Mhm.
we have tons of floodplain issues in Gulfstream, so you got to get everything up off the ground, but
Yeah, we're on pilings.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sure if that'd have to be on a piling as
probably have
well.
to be
And,
on pin
because
pilings.
otherwise it
Yeah.
may settle
So, yeah.
and we have to deal with those kind of issues. So, the units become so efficient now that they kind of ramp up, they're variable speed. So that it's not going to be a lot of people in there all the time. So it's only going to ramp up a couple of times out of the day when people are working out. So at that time it begins to ramp up, but most of the time, especially at night, it's really going to be just dehumidifying. It's going to be a kind of a low speed.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty familiar with it.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be fine. I just
Understandable,
thinking
yeah.
ahead.
Mhm, yeah.
So just to follow up on that, if you were to put them on a concrete slab, would that also be at 7 feet?
Yes. Yeah, I got to have all my mechanical equipment above floodplain.
Right. I didn't know if you might actually even raise it higher than that.
Yeah, well,
It-
because I'm understanding the visual concerns too, so I want to try to keep it as low and,
Sure.
yeah.
Oh, no, it's a beautiful building. Frankly, it tracks along with the rest of the clubhouse. It's an improvement aesthetically
Mhm.
from the existing barn. We just are concerned about a few issues that might be objectionable to the neighbors.
Good.
Okay, any other questions?
I think it's gonna look better with the landscape than what's there.
Yeah, it's a nice job. Any motions? Vice Mayor?
Sure. This is a motion to approve the application for development approval for the Little Club. The first motion is a motion to approve a demolition permit to remove the existing cart barn.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwyne?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
Do we have conditions on this?
The only condition I was gonna add,
What's the,
Yeah, just a secondary one. I'm just getting on the right
that's
page here.
gonna be down.
Yeah, I got it. The second motion is a motion to approve a level 3 architectural site plan based on a finding that the construction of the new single-story activity center totaling 4,625 square feet meets the minimum intent of the design manual and applicable review standards.
second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwyne?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
Third motion is a motion to approve a new landscape plan around the building with the following conditions. 1, any minor modifications in the approved landscaping shall be submitted to the town manager for review and approval, and any major modifications shall be brought back to the ARPB for review and approval prior to the commencement of the landscaping. And two, the applicant agrees that if the condensing units on the east side of the building create undue noise or generate complaints, that they'll pursue other sound dampening measures to reduce noise.
Second.
Very good. Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanton.
Yes.
Commissioner Arthwine.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, guys. Thanks, gentlemen.
All right, let's move on to the town manager's report.
Okay.
Utility underground.
Yes, sir. So the latest with Comcast is next week on the 16th and the 18th. And they will have what they call a scheduled maintenance of plant notice that they send out to their customers here in Gulfstream. And that notice says that, you know, and on those days you might witness some temporary outages because they're going to be doing the cutovers on those days. One of them will be during the day and the other one will be in the middle of the night. And so when they do those and ensure that everything is working, then they will finish the wrecking of the old equipment and which they've already started. Basically everything west of Polo they've done. So then they'll wreck the rest of the old equipment. And then the next thing to schedule would be FP&L to come take the poles out.
Very good.
John, I apologize. You said November, what were the dates?
Well, the only question would be how long it will take for them to wreck.
You know, yeah.
And if it's 2 weeks, then I mean, they may be done with that by the 1st of December. And so the question I have, I guess, to the commission, and this was my thought, would be if they're not really done with the wrecking till mid-December, I would have FP&L come after the 2 weeks of the Christmas season and just take the poles out in January instead of having, it's a question of the commission on your thoughts about that. They, you know, if not, then we'd have these bucket trucks and whatever kind of trucks or take the actual poles out, you know, right in the middle of the Christmas season. So.
Well, it might be a good time to do it. Might be a Christmas present
Well,
for
yeah, I mean,
everybody.
that's one way to look at it.
Tax seems free, so we'll let them make the decision.
Okay, well.
I don't care.
You
No,
guys,
I'm kidding.
okay, so if it works out.
Everybody
we
would be
can-
so excited to do that.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then I'll just go ahead and see if FP&L can do it as soon as they're done.
Whatever you want.
I think
Okay.
it'll be a nice problem.
Oh, there you go.
A
You're
nice
right
what?
about that.
If they
right.
actually get to that date and they can do it, I'll be very happy.
So
Do it as soon as you can, okay?
And if there's any rutting, the people aren't going to be worried about that. So we'll be able to fix that. So,
All right,
anyway.
good.
Okay.
Check balance.
Mr. Stanley, did you have a question?
yeah, I think, yeah, so we agree this to schedule them as soon as
As
possible.
soon as we
You're
can.
probably going to get bumped to January
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
I agree with
You
that.
can do
We'll
it.
see. Okay. Okay, the next item is the update on our check valves. I have Anthony is here to talk about that as we speak. I mean, are they working, are they working
Yeah,
today?
He just texted me just now. He says that he doesn't have the hardware to do number 2, but that's the only one that's left. All the other check valves have been installed. Number 1 was leaking. They put in a caulking foam sealant. And number 1, on Wednesday, when they came in and installed it, it got pushed out. They didn't get a chance to seal and dry quick enough. So they went back in and they put in hydraulic cement at the end of the day when the tires were starting to go back out again.
So number 1 is
the
on
one
right way.
next to the punches.
Yeah, so,
600 right way.
yeah, so that's number 1. And then number 2
And
is,
the two is the one for the pumps.
Okay.
That's the one that we're holding.
And,
on our-
and all the other ones are done, right? And
help me understand on Old School Road, as far west as you can go, there's been flooding. Now, is that related to the check valves?
The one for the check valve, yeah, that one particular one that flooded Old School was because of that caulking didn't finish going inside of it.
Oh,
It
okay.
didn't cure.
So in other words, now that, once we install both of those properly, then there won't be.
Then we shouldn't have any more flooding in that fashion, yeah. Because I asked the crew that was working at Mrs. Smith's house at 555, how it looked yesterday towards the end of the day when the tide was coming in. But since it wasn't a keen tide, it didn't, protrude through the actual catch basin itself. It reached up to the top of the street level where the dips are from the actual catch basins themselves, and it stayed there dormant and didn't go any further. So.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions for Anthony? All right. Thanks, Anthony.
You're
Gas powered
okay,
leaf blowers.
yeah, so I'm still working with Mr. Shubin and our president here of the Civic Association to try to schedule a meeting, and also with Mr. Snavely, who's the president of the HOA over in Place Way. And so I'm trying to schedule it for Monday. We've been trying to schedule this for a couple of weeks, so.
Do you want to have a meeting here with
Yeah, yes.
Chet?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Shubin.
Good, good.
And the Delray Beach text amendment.
So I have enough on that. So we do have some good news. I'll go through the whole rigmarole though, if you give me a minute. So a property owner just west of the Place on Federal Highway was seeking a text amendment to the general commercial zoning district in Delray to include motorcycle sales, with the only restrictions being that no motorcycles could be displayed for sale outside, no major repairs could be done on site, and all test rides must be on adjoining commercial streets, not on the property. The ordinance was later changed to limit engine size to 1,250 cubic centimeters. In late September, Delray, the city was still unsure whether the item would be on the October 18th planning board meeting. So during our October commission meeting last month, I promised what the Coastal Star called a vigorous lobbying effort against that change. And of course, I noted too in my research that a motorcycle with 1,250 cubic centimeter engine of the type being proposed was just as fast as a new Corvette. So it wasn't really a realistic limitation on the noise that really would be emanating from that in that event. The week after the commission meeting, the applicant's agent reached out to me, and I told her in no uncertain terms that the residents of Place Slay were against it and were disgusted by the requested change. And I quoted the HOA president, who said, "The only thing worse than a motorcycle dealer would be a pig farm next door." So I essentially told her that, and I said that the town commission authorized me to appear in opposition. She explained that the HOA members must just not understand and wanted to meet them. So I brokered that meeting, and it was going to be the Wednesday before the Planning and Zoning Board meeting in Delray. The Monday before the Planning Board meeting was to take place, Delray confirmed the item was on the agenda. So I reached out to the city attorney in Delray to schedule a meeting to discuss how Marty Miner and myself would make a presentation against this item. Before any of that work was done, however, the applicant's agent informed me that they were withdrawing the request. It appears there wasn't a lot of support within the city from the staff and probably from the boards as well to get this passed. And of course, it would have impacted a number of Delray Beach's single-family zone parcels as well. So I promised an update this month, and we have good news. So thank you.
Very good.
That's good.
Good effort on your part, Trey. Appreciate it very much. I don't think we allow pigs. Do we still allow chickens in Gulfstream?
I think we actually do.
I thought so too. But anyways, that's just for another day.
Yeah, when I first got here, there were a couple of houses that had issues with chickens. So, but,
Roosters?
And bees.
and bees. You're right about bees.
Don't forget bees.
I can't forget the
Mrs.
bees.
Stanley will want me to mention bees.
All right, let's move on to
Okay.
the CIP.
Yes, sir. Okay, so as you know, we had an RFQ for engineering firms to design our new project for the CIP. The deadline for that was November 8th. And then on Monday, there's a deadline for the town to determine whether we're going to have any oral interviews with any of the candidates. We do have a committee, and so they've been looking at the proposals. We actually got 4, which was a surprise to me. I mean, so, but it's, it's a big project, so maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but so we did have 4 submissions, which is good. And so we're not sure if we'll do any oral interviews at this point, but the item would be scheduled for the commission meeting, the recommendation that the committee comes up with on the engineering firm. And between Monday and that meeting, the committee will be meeting, and I believe that it would be a public meeting. So I've been on some of these committees before, and when the committee meets to discuss the score sheets or the various companies, it has to be a public meeting. So, but anyway, we'll bring it to the town commission on December 10th.
Very good. Thanks.
I mean, I bring up just a little bit, the passage of that infrastructure bill. Obviously, we all know there's a lot of money's being spent on roads and bridges. Additionally, I noticed that there's a provision for replacement of water distribution, lead pipes in particular. And I don't know how, I have no idea how it trickles down to a town like the town of Gulfstream, but I would hope that we can grab some of that money. And I don't know how that works, but.
Well, we don't know how it will work yet either, but typically it's, goes from the feds to the state, and then they send it to the counties. And I mean, because we did get some money from that first.
We got a lot of money at one time, $280,000.
Yeah,
That's only 50% of what we're going to get from them for the ARPA funds.
Yes, I mean, so that's half of it. We get half of it in this next budget, and then the rest of it in the next budget.
And the nice thing is we're going to be shovel ready is the term they used the last time. I think we're going to be ready to do a lot of this stuff.
Right.
And hopefully the money will be hanging there. I don't know, but just an
I
observation.
mean, yeah, the timing is good.
Yeah.
We'll see how it's how it's managed, and we can tell you guys how that's going to be done. So
Good. Artificial ground.
yes. So I had a little memo in here that kind of explained to you why I have this on here today. I'd been approached by residents. I mean, we have a lot more residents that are asking the question whether, we allow any kind of artificial grass at their home, and then contractors representing them. We currently prohibit the use of synthetic materials like that, but we have had less than 5, but people that have actually put it in and had no clue that they were even doing that. So, but they have all been in the backyard except for one, which is out there on A1A, and in the right of way. So we're bringing this to you. What I've included on this is a carefully vetted ordinance that was created by the town of Ocean Ridge. It took them many months to bring it to a vote, and they did vote in favor of this ordinance. And so what their ordinance includes, I mean, it's very thorough. It's got a minimum material standards for the grass itself. The installation, it talks about the installation requirements, maintenance, repair, and locations. So it covers about everything you would want to know about artificial grass. So before we take it a step further, I just wanted to bring this up and get some comments or thoughts from the town commission.
Yeah, I think we need, it's a very thorough proposed ordinance that I guess adopted by Ocean Ridge, which is nice. But the question is, do you want artificial grass in Gulfstream? And if so, where?
Yeah, there's one of their prohibitions is it being in the front yard. And so there was one other, and I see, oh, Anthony's still here. So we were out on the golf cart and there was a house in the core that was getting ready to put it in, and we stopped them. And so this was in an area, this is the house at the corner of
30.
Banya, or no, is it Banya?
35, I think.
No, it's Lakeview and Gulfstream Road, the house on the southeast corner. They already have, they've got that little car park area in the front of it. You know which house, Mr.
Lakeview and,
It's 2 houses down from you, Mr. Stanton.
Yeah.
The same side.
It's the southeast
The
corner,
house.
big 2-story house.
Okay.
Got that really big tall.
They've got the
fence.
pavers in the front.
sure, yeah.
So anyway, they have a wall, a short wall.
Retaining wall there.
A retaining wall, and so that's where they were going to put it, because they have a pet or something that they want to let run in
Talking
there.
about
So-
where the rock is?
Yes. So
Okay.
that's when we noticed they were doing it, and that's part of the installation procedures for this stuff. So I said, well, we're going to be talking about this, and we'll keep you informed. So they said, well, if we are not able to put in the grass, they'll just leave the rock there. You can't even see it from the road because of the retaining wall. So anyway, that's why I've brought it to your attention. We do get a lot of requests for it.
But this grass is allowed between pavers, right?
Oh, yes, we do.
I mean,
that.
in front yard, you
Yes.
know, okay.
We do. I mean,
We
and
did
there's several,
allow that.
correct. And there's been several recent houses that
Yeah.
have installed it like that.
And I assume there's some specs on that because we get creative people to put two big stones on either end of the property and say that it's in between. No, but I'm serious.
Yeah, no, I know. And one of the things in their ordinance is that, so I asked the town manager over there, I said, well, who's responsible for approving the applications and then, managing them? Because, I mean, they have time limits on as to how long they can keep it in there before they need to replace it. So, I mean, there's a lot of management involved on our staff in.
It does go bad. I mean,
It does.
It does go bad and looks terrible.
So, and I also asked Tracy, I said, well, where did you get your information as to, how to put this together and the requirements? And she said it was a combination of various towns that have the same kind of ordinance allowing it, but with restrictions on it.
Well, the warranty on those products is typically 7 years, but
Well, that's
we
what
don't,
they
that's
said.
out of the new, you can look at, what we call the artificial turf, and which is sometimes different for ball fields, but it's probably going to be less than that, as wet as it is here.
Right.
It'll probably last 5 years,
Yeah.
maybe.
And then the other place that I've seen it, obviously not in front yards, but on the waterways. So if you track down basically from Atlantic Avenue Bridge down to Lake Boca, you'll probably see, once you get south of Linton, probably like every third home, that has a lot of hardscape facing the intracoastal will then have, with one of the products, I guess, is Simlon, they'll have it around the pool and down to the seawall.
Right.
That's where you most commonly see it.
And
It's
one of-
pretty evident. I mean, there's a lot of it now.
Yeah, well, and one of the
Most of them local
houses
city
that
limits.
put it in before we even knew it was the new one on, and Mr., I don't want to name names, but it's over at Place Osaway, one of the new houses on one of the cul-de-sacs over there.
So, yeah, so when we have, a lot of homes on water and basins and whatnot, obviously you have to be in a boat to see it, but it still matters, just like with our dock
Yeah.
permits and everything else.
And a lot of those backyards over there are really not very big.
Right.
Yeah, because it's basically pool, deck, and then a little grass, and then you're at the seawall.
So I'm of the opinion, although the code says when it's not permitted, that we'll probably need to do something additional.
Well, it's just like,
Even if it's reconfirming our current position, I don't know if that requires actually any type of amendment, but other than communication.
yeah.
I think we kind of just want to get a feel from the commissioners which
I mean,
direction they want to go.
Because we can move forward on it, but before we started that, I just want to get, like you say, a flavor of the comments
But
that you might have.
I don't like it. I don't like the look of it. I think it jumps out at you, particularly when it's next to other natural grass. And the 25% lot area, I think is way too much. But there are applications where just as we allow it between pavers, there can be some architectural features that might allow it. But to have an ordinance generally permitting it with a percentage of lot size, I'm uncomfortable with. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
What do you do? There's some residents that obviously have it in the backyard now that nobody can see it. You know
Right.
that. You just let that go. I mean, it's been
Yeah, I
for
mean,
years.
Yeah, I mean, so, I mean,
Well, I think maybe we don't allow them to replace it.
Yeah, no, I agree. But actually, it's probably not part of the Green New Deal because you have to replace it. And it's that fiber, but it's that kind of
yeah, I
bad
mean,
stuff.
you know, I mean,
You know, it's not natural.
yeah, but you know, I mean, it does absorb the water and it goes through and so.
It's like a plastic bottle.
Yeah, I guess they've made a lot of improvements to
Can they recycle it?
Good
I'm not
question.
sure, I'm not known for it to be recycled.
I'm just curious. I don't know.
I haven't done my homework on it just enough. I don't know how it's installed and I don't know how long it usually lasts, but it doesn't take much of a keep it. It's just like carpet, you have to stretch it and keep on it.
Oh, really?
You do have to put sand in it like regular.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a pain. I don't see anything for improvement on it whatsoever, for the aestheticness of the yard.
Joan, there's an argument in favor of it from an environmental perspective, which is that it doesn't require water.
Yeah.
So, but I'm
that's
just
true.
not arguing in favor of it,
That's
but
true.
that's an argument you sometimes get.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, do you want us to maybe look into it, maybe over the next month or two and come back to you and,
Well, what else is there to look into?
well, really, I mean, I mean, there's nothing except maybe changing the, you know, like 25% to 10% or 15%. I mean, because I think Ocean Ridge has got a very, as you've read it, I mean, it's very thorough ordinance, or, I mean, if you don't want us to go any further, we'll just stop.
I'm inclined with the mayor not to do any more, because you have enough to do, study something that I think we all, at least, I'm not interested in learning anymore.
Okay.
I'm in. But there's two of them. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I don't see any benefit except for pavers or, I mean, if like a small area
Yeah.
around a patio, if you want to
Yeah.
put that in instead of grass.
Right.
I don't know. I understand the water and the maintenance. It's really popular in California. Really popular. You know that.
Well, yeah, we're not California.
Oh, God.
Okay,
But whatever.
I've said enough.
You know, I mean, I agree with you. I think there are some other applications besides pavers
Yeah.
where it might be appropriate around a water feature in the backyard.
Or a fire pit.
Yeah,
or-
fires.
Yeah, something.
And I don't know if we have a procedure by which that can be brought
Right.
to you for
Yeah.
discretionary
Sure.
approval. I think to go this route opens the town up to.
Okay, yeah, and really the responsibility for reviewing that in Ocean Ridge is fully up to the building official. And so, but I mean, maybe we can see if there might be other kinds of, you know, as we review new applications coming in, people ask about it, we'll kind of keep that information. And if we feel like maybe there are some situations where it's just a small area, we'll come
Yeah,
back to you.
I'm not familiar with the rock you're talking about to put but I mean, is it a small, like a little area? Is it more appropriate for?
Well, no, it doesn't matter however large the area is, that's part of the application. So they have to come
Got it.
in with all that rock.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it the way it is right now.
Well, I think kind of like the evolving roof tile conundrums we've had in the past, then we probably should, I mean, if this is going to keep coming up or people are going to start doing it. And we've had numerous issues recently with, overzealous landscaping, that we probably should get something out saying this is, hey, by the way,
Yeah.
this product has become prevalent. However, you can't, how many times did we have the old tin roof battles?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hey, if there's a lot of new owners and whatnot, this is what you can and can't do. I don't know how
Well,
we
the code
do.
doesn't allow it.
No, it doesn't.
Part of our newsletter, we might want to mention it again.
Yeah.
And the Coastal Star. Yeah, people read that.
Oh, I mean, he's probably very familiar with the vetting that happened in Ocean Ridge.
Right.
Would it take like a year? That, our
It's a
news
state.
reporter.
A long time.
Okay.
Um,
And I think the vote was 3-2, so it wasn't.
It wasn't unanimous.
Unanimous.
Well, I mean, it was, but not really.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think we just maybe put it in the newsletter, educate.
Yeah, okay.
Education is
All right.
always a good thing.
Get the word out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Gatehouse.
Okay.
Actually, maybe the Civic Association too would want to include that in their meeting. I mean, just FYI
Okay.
about, include the grass issue in your, I mean, just for FYI. Well, it's beautification, Curtis. It's part of that.
Well, it's probably not a bad idea. I mean,
Well, it's
to
just-
get-
Has there
Yeah.
been a clamoring in the Civic Association for artificial grass?
Don't get me started. There are a lot of things that I was going to bring.
Well,
We have time.
Yeah, I think that.
Smart man.
let's just move on to Gatehouses.
Thank you, Mayor. So as you know, well, as everyone knows, perhaps except for you, since you weren't here last meeting, I believe, we had a discussion about gatehouses and some, had a nice PowerPoint put together with some front elevations of current gatehouses that were approved at 29, 29, and 35, 65, to the most recent builds on the ocean. And then some other examples of walled front entry features that did not have that same look with the gatehouse that's able to essentially be very close to the property line. And in the case of the two recent homes that were approved, sort of in line with where the wall is. So as you're driving by, you can see the roof structure of the gatehouse. The architect who was involved with this project said, it's a really great feature to have. It improves the, gives you something additional, another minor accessory structure. You wouldn't want to put it anywhere else. You certainly wouldn't want to block the ocean view. So you want to keep it in the front of the yard. And it needs to match the architectural style of the principal building. So he saw it as it's really just a win-win. The discussion at the commission level was such that we would want to try to have something in between a special exception and variance to where we could somehow regulate them a little bit more. And in talking with staff internally, there's been a thought that maybe the best way to manage this approval would be to put the gatehouses outside of the North Ocean Boulevard Overlay District, which is the 50-foot spot in the setback essentially from the property line. There was the thinking that in practice, currently in Gulfstream, we don't have a lot of sort of full-time gate people. It's more of a minor accessory structure that is occupied and used maybe by a caretaker, but not the sole responsibility of that person is not to sit at the gate and regulate traffic. So I do have just to pass around, I have an overview or an overhead of the plan of 2929 North Ocean. which shows the Gatehouse at the front of the property. And then there's the little dotted or hatched line that shows you the North Ocean Boulevard overlay district and where that begins. So that essentially pushes it a little bit further. And then I also
Can I
have,
stop you? Is this the one that?
This 2929 is
no, sir, that's the one.
opposite the Gulf. Yeah, it's Gulfview. Is that 2929?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so that's the house at the intersection of Gulfview.
Is it called? Well, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So it would, you have to put it inside that line. Is that what you're-
That's correct.
The point is to move it back.
And then here's the sort of overhead, and you can have an idea of how that affect the look of the property by pushing that back a little bit. It would in no way
Great.
have any significant impact on the value of the property. They're still allowed to build exactly the same. You still have a minor accessory structure. Your square footage is not changed, anything like that. So the value that the architect and perhaps the real estate investment trust or the owner of those two lots who made that decision to maximize the value of the property by including these structures would really still be maintained with this change, but just change the aesthetic as you're driving by to something that may be more pleasing to the commission. So I just present that to you for your consideration.
The other most recent example was 3565, which is pretty much across from the school, where, I mean, it was the same builder.
Yeah.
Right, it was the same trust.
Right.
By maximizing space, but the architect, gatehouses, if you will, I think loom over A1A.
Do we know where, I mean, the lots are all different. Do we know where on that one, where it would go? Or would it just be like attached to the garage wing or something? This lot's, that's kind of an abnormal lot. It's pretty tight.
2929?
The one in front of the school.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's at the old Iowa.
I mean, you are right about that.
Well, if it
They
doesn't,
probably had less room on the south side of their property than 2929
Yeah.
did.
it's a much bigger. So by default, if you put it to 50 feet in, it may not work for some lots.
Correct. I don't think it would work for 3565.
Still is, I mean, that still is the goal. I mean,
So, but that
your
just
accessory
means-
structure either works where it's gonna work
Exactly.
or it doesn't. And you
Right.
gotta design the home accordingly.
Right.
That's what our
Can
goal
you
is.
put one on your lot? Well, that's exactly, I can't put one on my lot.
No.
And they don't look good. And I don't have a gate finding them as a gatehouse is.
So that's what we asked you to do. So it's not a waiver or a variance. You just gotta, here's your line. It has to go inside of this. And if your lot accommodates it, great. And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
Okay.
Is the gatehouse on the property just south of this one? How far back is that gatehouse? You remember we were talking that it's kind of non-obstructive. I
Yes.
mean, it's just proportionate.
It's pretty close to the.
Yeah, it is, but you don't
That
see
property
it.
line goes like that.
Like this looms over you, whereas
Well,
the
yeah,
one
so
next
does the
door.
one on the south side. I mean, it's basically the same distance from.
Yeah, but the one to the north
Oh.
doesn't jump out at you. Do
Oh, you
think
mean
that?
over here across from the school?
No, I'm talking the one down here across from Gulfview. This is right across from Gulfview.
Oh, I know.
The one
It's-
just south, the Spirit House, the historic house, is kind of, you don't notice it.
Oh, what?
Whereas this just, I think,
Blends into the wall.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think
Look around it too.
as much as I want to see it go back, I think that's a great idea. Is there some way, the design of this just looms over you, where the other one doesn't? That's what I was thinking.
You're right.
I mean,
it's-
instead of just pushing it back, maybe just, it's architectural though. It's, maybe this is just the easier thing to do, but I don't know if it was accomplishing what I was first thinking.
They are limited to 1 story and 18 feet in height. So that's, I mean, that is a regulation
Yeah.
relative to size. They can't be more than 500 square feet. I mean, so
Right.
there are some regulations currently in the code in that special exception for gatehouses in the beachfront district that attempt to address the concerns that you have.
Isn't there?
I think your issue is too, is, what the point you're making is that the Gatehouse or the front structure was primarily for Mediterranean revival style.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true. It's
And now
architecture.
now that's not popular. It'll come back at some point maybe, but so now you have Anglo Bermuda. You've got an Anglo Bermuda guest house sitting
On that
right on
street.
top of the driveway. And I don't think it's the fault, they're gonna do what you can do in the code. I don't think it's the fault of the architect. It's just, it's not brown tan with quasi red barrel, clay
Yeah.
barrel tile.
Well, it's not as high as the.
You're used to
other.
seeing that.
That is the difference.
The
You're
massiveness.
used to seeing that all over with
Right.
Mediterranean revival. They're like, oh, it fits. Okay, here's a gate feature, here's the house. And now we're not, now you've got white and, you've got some railings and you've got white and you've got a gray roof or you've got a white roof. And so it's a little bit different.
It's
The
a pitched roof.
application of the building now is more of a guest room.
It's a guest house.
It's not a gatehouse. But
Isn't
that's
there
supposed to
a
be
size,
real house. No one's got a gatehouse.
square footage over which you would have to put bathroom? So is it 300 square feet?
I mean, I don't know, but within the code, it is required to be habitable. So you do have to have a bathroom and some other facilities in there.
We adopted.
You want to give us direction to make an amendment to the code that would give?
Well, we ought to get a consensus on it. I like the approach. I think it's the way you should pursue it. I think trying to get
Yeah, no,
architectural design could get murky.
It'll get too gray. I mean,
I mean, it's what
I agree
led
with
to this in
that.
the first place,
Yeah.
frankly.
I agree.
Good.
I agree that seems the only logical way to
Okay.
keep track of it.
Okay.
Have your direction.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. We're moving on to,
Cell tower equipment.
yeah, cell tower equipment that, an application that's into the town at this point in time.
So an application was made for a new concrete pole with small cell equipment. Staff met with the applicant to determine the range and whether multiple carriers could be located on the same pole. So essentially there's an application to put a concrete pole on A1A. It's approximately across from Hidden Harbor Drive down on the south end of town on A1A on the east side in front of a multifamily building. The range is about 600 yards and cannot be shared with other carriers. So the answer that we got from the applicant was essentially, this is really the spot that we need it to be. We've identified this as an issue, and this is where we want to put it. The town's ordinance that was updated last year actually prohibits the placement of these type of structures on A1A due to the historic designation of Gulfstream stretch of A1A. So at this point, we're waiting for the application to be complete. But the town manager is essentially going to apply the ordinance that was adopted and deny it for failure to meet the ordinance because it is prohibited. But if the commission decides in the future that they want to perhaps improve cell service or take some sort of action that allows these, there would be, based on our conversation, probably up to 4 of these separate towers every 600 or so yards on A1A, and that would be able to service the town. And we would need to change the ordinance. So again, just based on the conversation with the applicant of the range and the fact that they're not shared because of interference and other things, each individual company, Verizon, AT&T, all these different companies would have to put their own pole in to improve service in the town. He also mentioned that there's a large tower just across the intercoastal that AT&T has now been, I guess, added to. So that kind of indicated to us that cell service was going to improve in town regardless. But that's just an update on how we're applying the ordinance that you adopted last year.
And that cell tower is how tall, the proposed one in that?
I believe it's about 35 feet tall.
Similar to a light bulb.
Correct, yes, sir.
And you could have 4 or 5 of those clustered together every 600 yards going up A1A.
If the providers deemed that was a need, then that would potentially be, if we change our ordinance, what would appear in the town.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for getting that information.
And we also did talk to the DOT, and there's a certain setback that the DOT requires, and we don't believe that this location actually meets that. So it is Brett.
There are a number of issues that we've identified both at the state level and local level that appear to be problematic for this application. So,
Yeah, placement would have to be on private property, across the golf course.
correct, yes.
Okay. All right, very good. Thanks for that update. Lighting monument street signs.
Okay, we have gotten kind of a request from the Civic Association to look into this, the issue of lighting our monument street signs, of which there are 19 of them. And so I think there was maybe a little confusion. I wasn't here when you guys talked about this. I think your discussions were way back when you were talking about phase 1 of the underground. And Mr. Ganger might be able to fill in some of my conversation here. And maybe you too, Mrs. Northwine. Do you remember all the discussions about
lighting the signs?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't remember them all.
Okay.
I remember lighting the sign.
Okay,
It's
so
going to cost money.
So here's-
It's going to cost money. I remember that.
Well, okay, so here's I think that's probably what happened, because I went to Danny and I said, put your memory hat on here and think back to when you were designing phase 1. And yes, in fact, he did design the conduit and the placement of the conduit for lights on these signs. But then he was, and we've got the set of plans, and but he told me that he was told not to proceed with that.
It was probably cost.
I think it was.
It was, I mean, if I had
You
to
remember?
think back, it was cost.
Okay.
Because then they start talking about lighting the street sign was solar. I think that was.
Yeah, that was also
Right?
discussed.
Yeah, and it was just not a practical
Right.
solution, and so it never got back in the
Right.
plan.
So I think even some of the solar, they might have tried it, and some of
They
those,
did.
they were stolen.
Yeah, they disappeared as fast as we could put them in.
Yeah, so,
Imagine that.
Solar product is good, but they don't stay.
yeah, right. So,
Not that it ever was.
That's exactly what happened. They were stolen.
so here's where we are right now. The good thing about it is we do have plans already made to show where the conduit and where they would be connected by the engineer. That's already done. We have that. And so otherwise we'd have to hire somebody to go out and do that. So the next step that we would take, if you guys want us to pursue that, and I think the Civic Association has asked us to look into it. Our next step would be to get somebody like Wilco. We'd give them the set of plans, and they could give us an estimate on how much it would cost to actually do that.
Well, if the cost was objectionable 10 years ago.
Do we have any ballpark idea of what that cost was?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't remember the cost of it. I just know it was going to be an additional cost that we just, I don't even know if we got a
I mean,
firm
it was
cost.
four leads, for the 4 streets.
Oh, no, there's
Oh, no,
19,
But-
there's 19 signs.
19?
Yeah.
Yes.
Including the 2 big monument signs at the entrance of the town.
Oh, you mean for the north and south?
Yeah, you got to remember, some of the signs have facing north, and then one behind it facing south. So
Well, yeah, but I mean, a big monument sign, the objection or not objection, but the comments that I have been getting is that the 4 signs for Golf View,
yes,
Lakeview, Banyan, et cetera, are very difficult to see. And so our thought was illuminating those signs, only those signs, not the ones down by the B&T and the ones up by St. Andrews, because those are big signs that
right.
anybody can see.
And These are darker in here during the night. I mean, it just seems darker on the road in this little
Yeah,
path.
and it's really, the Civic Association said that they would be happy to contribute
Sure.
or to pay for it depending upon the cost. I mean, we do not have a huge budget, but it is a function of, if it's gonna cost $250,000 to put a couple of leaves in,
Right.
I'd rather pay to buy, solar things and have them stolen for the next 5 years.
Put trackers on.
Yeah.
Anthony, those 4 intersections, I don't remember how many signs those 4 intersections would be. It wouldn't be just 4 signs.
Each side.
Probably.
Lakeview has 2, Banyan has 2, Gulfview has 2, Sea Road has 4,
So
County Road has 3.
it's 3 and 4, and then 6. So there's what, 13?
Well, even the Sea Road one right here is a whole lot more visible. I think what we were trying to accomplish is illuminating those that are not as visible. And that tends to be Banyan, Lakeview, Gulfview.
Yeah, because there's a light up here that you
Yeah.
can see the sea road. I mean, I think what happens is when you get down, what I was saying is it's so dark, you can't
Right.
see anything.
Yeah, I've had guests who at night find difficulty identifying the signs. It's a little bit of a safety issue because people, are not paying attention to
Right.
driving them. And I think if it's incremental, I agree with you. You don't need to do the whole town. When we decided previously not to do something, I'm in favor of reconsidering it. And for the cost.
Is there no way to anchor so what's the good solar product is what, we're talking $70 a light now, I think?
The only thing I could come up with a conclusion of doing for something in that nature would be to possibly take an extension piece of pipe
Yeah.
up to the bottom of it and have it welded onto it
Yeah.
and then pour a
Concrete.
foundation on it.
To anchor it.
Anchor it down to the ground where it would make it difficult for them just to take it. That would be the only thing I can think of.
Because any
Or burying a cement block somehow attention.
Yes.
To a cement block buried.
Yeah.
I mean, there have to be permanent
Yeah.
fixtures for solar lights. Little concrete housings around them. You have the
They're anchored,
solar
make
panel
it
on the
definitely.
top.
The only problem is
Can't
some
be-
of those signs sit so close to the radius on the turn. that
Right, it could
really
block
nice
the
on
view.
caution.
Yeah, I think that's my real concern on lights is that I don't care what we do. The trucks always go, 3 feet into the property. I don't know why or how, but they always do. Those signs will last 2 months. So they're gonna have to be behind somehow illuminating it
Well,
that way.
here was my suggestion, and it just popped into my head as we were speaking.
I'm sorry,
The suggestion that I was, yes, I'm sorry, I keep doing that.
I'm deaf.
No, I talk loud and I thought I was talking loud enough. Say for instance, this is the top of the sign itself, have something drilled on the top, which is gonna have to be really delicate because the coquina can split. Anchor it and then bolt it to that and then have it lighting down kind of like on a pew or
Oh, I
something.
see.
Penny.
Yeah.
Hey,
How are the signs? I don't even remember. How are those signs? Are they just?
They have a 3-inch border on the top all the way across.
Yeah.
And it's probably about maybe
I think that was
24,
what it was.
27 inches in length probably.
Can they be
And then
moved back?
they taper out to a wide base.
Can they be moved? That's what my question was. Can they be moved back so you can put?
They're very heavy.
Yeah.
It's like a marble stone for a plot. Great.
Does the solar actually work because it's so shaded in those areas? Do we know that? I mean, there's no point installing solar if it doesn't work.
Yeah, because Banyon's, the south side of Banyon's pretty dark all the
Yeah,
time.
right.
I mean, we can buy.
That
something
actually
cheap
has
and
been
test
cut back some.
But they don't
Okay,
last,
yeah.
they go for 4 hours, so
Well, that's another.
8 to 12, but after that, they fade out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the new LED
Yeah,
style
yeah.
lights last a little longer though. They don't draw as much current because they're LEDs.
Do you have any idea how much it costs to put electric on like 3 of them, like
Well, that's
Banyan,
what I was gonna
Lakeview?
suggest.
Even Golf
We
View
can-
you can see because there's a light right at the end of Golf View. I think it's mostly Banyan and Lakeview. Those are the 2 problems.
Those
Yeah.
are the 2 that are the most.
The rest of them, we have a light here and there's a light at Golf View, so it's not as big of an issue.
Your golf view is more visible.
Yeah,
I'm not
and there's a
sure why.
light there.
Right.
So it's just
Okay, well, we can,
Banyan
we can
and
find-
Lakeview.
we
I
can,
think those are the 2. They're the worst. Do you agree?
Okay, so we'll get cost estimates for those.
So you can get a ballpark
Yeah.
idea.
Price it.
Okay.
They're just 2 of
I
them.
want to make this a major project.
Yeah.
But just to facilitate driving for some people, because it's been mentioned.
Would that be enough for Lakeview and,
Fine with me.
yeah.
Okay, we'll follow up on that, getting estimates. The other part of this story is they've got moss and debris and we have been.
It's a fungicide that goes into coquina, so
Yeah,
it
so
doesn't
porous.
protect it. So
And
I
so
had
we
someone come out and,
finally found somebody that has an application that actually cleaned
Yes.
the Banyan Street.
it was the one on
Which is
the corner
one of the
of,
worst
Right, that was the problem too.
it was
Yeah.
Lakeview.
And so we're moving forward. We had him come out to do one sign, see if it would work, and it worked. And so we're gonna move forward with that and cleaning all of them. Now, the brass letters, we thought they were dirty, but they're not. They're
Oxidized.
That's
Rita
the
gave us
thing.
insight on that.
Yeah, Rita was able to,
That they never shine.
right.
We actually painted a few of them fluorescent. Remember that? Like to try to, I don't know what happened to it, but it was there.
So we'll follow up, try and get some custom estimates on those 2 intersections. So I think that's it.
All right, very good. ARPB meeting will be November 18th at 8:30. Anyone who wishes to attend. Finance report?
Yes, sir. So really not much to report on. Rebecca's notes here. October was the first month in our new fiscal year. Some of our annual contracts, and we mention this every year, such as the police dispatch and others, are paid in full right up front. So you might notice that if you're looking at it. And then most of the revenues that we receive in October and November are actually allocated to the previous year. And that's something we're going to be doing here in a second with those resolutions.
Right.
The resolutions with the building.
Reallocating some of the,
Yes.
yeah.
We do that every year in
Yes.
November.
Any questions on the ballot sheets? All right, very good. Chief, police report.
Good morning, everyone. I have a couple of additions to the activity report. One, and recently, you noticed on there was a grand theft over $1,000. And we had a resident here who had it. It turned out to be a housekeeper who stole the item from the house. Items ended up almost $500,000 in loss. We did make an arrest on it. She went to county jail. She has bonded out. We know she has bonded out of jail. And unfortunately, we have not been able to recover any of the values at all. They were pawned, and this occurred over like the last 5 months. So it's not something that happened instantly.
Just one incident.
So we're still working with the pawn people who accepted the items to try to get some results out of them, but it doesn't look very, very good. But it was totally an inside job, wasn't anybody from outside. And unfortunately, it's a sad situation. Second of all, I have also on there was a recovered vehicle, if you noticed on there. This vehicle was taken back in October 28th. No, it was taken back in June 14th, 2020. 2020, almost a year and a half ago. And this past month, we got notification that it was recovered. Okay. It was recovered in Kansas City, Missouri. You know, out of all the rest of the stolen vehicles that have been recovered, they all were taken in Miami, Hialeah, Fort Lauderdale, all to the south. And this one showed up in Kansas City over a year and a half later. And third, I just want to mention we do have a full staff on board at this time. My newest officer couldn't make it today, working late shift. And so we are up to full staff. It actually feels good to be able to fill positions and have enough people that make it work.
No, that's great, particularly this time with all the difficulties of recruiting police officers. It's
And the
testament to.
special note to this, the most recent hire, that's, I think he became the youngest employee that we have. I think he replaced Trey.
He did. Trey's no longer the baby.
So
I met him the other day, very professional,
very good guy.
and very pleasant. Michael is his name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Let's move on to the resolutions. Mr. Dunham, you want to explain the resolutions 21, 12, and 13?
Well, I'll
turn it over to Rebecca.
Yes, Rebecca, can you just
Sure.
tell us what's
Before
going
you,
on?
there are two different resolutions. One's for the general fund, one's for the water fund or the enterprise fund, depending on how you want to call it. These resolutions, and I kind of saw this coming, our construction on the A1A Phase 2 water main replacement project, the actual physical construction of that project, which was allocated for fiscal year 2020, actually ran and bled into, 21, bled into this current year. So we had to, the money's there, we just have to put it back into the budget so we can use it to kind of balance our budget. So, but that's what all of these are. There's, these are all related with the exception of the Delray Beach permitting adjustment. They're all related to capital expenditures from the A1A water main replacement project and the core drainage project. So it's just a matter of budgets and timing.
When you have construction projects that go over a fiscal year, from one fiscal year into another one, we have to do this every year.
Okay, very good. Any questions? If not, let's proceed to resolution number 2112. Ms. Taylor?
A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Florida, providing for the appropriations of budget revenues and expenditures in the general fund for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2021, and providing an effective date. And those are, this is presented for adoption this day, the 12th day of November, 2021.
Thank you. Resolution 21-12 has been read for our approval. Motion?
I'll move to approve resolution 21-12.
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. 2113.
A resolution of the Town Commission, Town of Gulfstream, Florida, providing for the appropriations of budget revenues and expenditures in the Enterprise Water Fund for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2021, and providing an effective date. Presented for adoption this 12th day of November, 2021.
Thank you. Resolution 2113 has been read for our approval. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution 2113.
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
I think she said yes.
Oh, I said yes. Did it? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Getting ready to leave.
Yes. Anything from the commission? If not, everybody's ready to go. Meeting's over.
Putting my glasses away.
We have to sign those?
Yes.
Yes.
We do.
Oh, okay.
Gotta put down my meetings. They're already going in April.
What?
No, the meetings here, we're already into April on our list.
Like, handle like Gatehouse. And the grants.
Yeah.
Oh, you can see it up here.
How far are you?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Uh-huh, anytime.
Yeah, oh,